I never believed in ghosts until I saw her. Something about that market never felt right, especially on rainy days. It was a small town, really just a big square with cobblestone paths, a few old buildings and stalls. The air was always thick with fog, the smell of incense and the distant whisper of voices. But the streetlights flickered and the vendors were always silent, watching, not speaking unless spoken to. That was when I first saw her. She was a strange woman, pale with long black hair that reached her ankles. She wore a white nightgown and a shawl, even in the midday sun. And though she walked the market often, I never saw her house or heard her speak. She would stand still for hours, silent and unmoving, watching the shoppers go by. And then when the market closed and the last vendor had shut their stall, she vanished. Every day when I visited, she was in the same place, but no one else seemed to notice her. Or if they did, they acted like she wasn't there. When I tried to approach her, she vanished before my eyes. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, some hallucination brought on by the incense smoke or the chill fog that clung to the square. But when I stopped by the market the next week, she was there again, still silent, watching. And then one of the vendors said, "She's been here longer than the market itself. Whatever you do, don't speak to her." I didn't listen, of course. I wanted to know who she was, why she stood in the market every day without speaking. But when I called out to her, "Are you all right?" she turned, and in that instant, I felt the world grow cold. Then she was gone. Everyone else looked at me strangely after that. The butcher, the baker, even the old woman who sold flowers. They all gave me warnings, cryptic and vague, or they just looked through me as if I wasn't there. Finally, the old woman who owned the flower stall lowered her voice and told me, "She's not from this world. If you want to see her, go on a night with no moon. Bring water from a silent spring and walk 4 steps forward from the old oak tree. Turn around 3 times and call her name." I thought she was mad, but desperate for answers, I did it. I waited until the next full moon and walked to the market alone. I filled a glass jar with water from the silent spring, walked to the old oak tree, and turned around 3 times. Then I called out into the fog, "Hello?" And instantly the air grew freezing cold. Then she was there. Before me, the woman stepped out of the fog, her white gown now soaked with mud, her face pale as bone. She looked at me, her eyes dark and empty. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. Then she vanished. Again, I could feel her watching me from somewhere, her gaze boring into my skull. Then one day, while rummaging through old records at the library, I found her name. Her name was Eliza, and she had died in the market fire of 1888. No one knew how it started, but everyone remembered how it spread through the night, fueled by the oil lamps above and the wooden stalls below. Most of the vendors lost everything that night, but some say Eliza lost more than that. No one knew what happened to her body after the fire. Some said it was too badly burned, and so she was buried in a mass grave. Others said she was cremated on a pyre outside the town, her bones scattered to the wind. I didn't know what to think, but I decided to ask the oldest person I knew, an old woman who lived in a cottage outside the market. She was nearly blind and deaf, but when I asked her about Eliza, she leaned toward me and whispered, "She died in the fire." She couldn't save herself because she was trapped inside her stall. She was burned alive. When I pressed her for more, she just shook her head and whispered, "Poor soul, poor burned soul." That's when I knew she must have died in the fire. So I returned to the market and began searching for her stall. It was just as the old woman had described. She had been trapped inside when the fire started and burned to death. But where was her body? I scoured the market, calling her name until my throat was raw. Then I noticed something odd. One of the stalls was closed off with boards and a padlock. Curiosity got the better of me, so I pushed the boards aside and unlocked the door. Inside was a pile of ashes and a scorched metal box. As I brushed the soot away, I found an old photo of Eliza. In it, she stood outside her stall, smiling brightly at the camera. On the back was a message written in elegant script. To my beloved Eliza, it read, "May your spirit find peace, my darling girl. I will find you again, even in death." Was he the one who killed her? Did he lock her in her stall and burn it down so that she wouldn't have to suffer anymore? I don't know. She hasn't appeared since, but I still feel her watching when I pass that stall.